ensuring that their voices are heard. I spoke to CPA Florence Biria from the Office of the Register of Political Parties on how the young people can be involved in democracy in Kenya.
The law clearly gives power to every Kenyan who has attained the age of majority 18 that they can form or participate in the formation of a political party. You fill the form, you develop a constitution, and every party must have rules. Yeah? Not necessarily election rules or nomination rules, but even for elections of their own officials. So rules, and then also they must have the founding members, because we have the membership, the bigger membership, but we have founding members. So the founding members, we need to have the minutes whereby they resolved to register a party, as well as their details, because we need to check, are they Kenyans of good moral standing? For example, do they meet the requirements of Chapter 6 of integrity and leadership? So we need to have their details and the minutes, and then they must have regional and ethnic diversity. Then there's a fee that has to be paid of 100,000. We do gazettement. If there's anybody who has an objection, we receive the objections, we process them, or we pass over to the applicant. If everything is okay, then upon the payment of the fee of 100,000, we issue a certificate. They dissolve the party. So under what circumstances then can the registrar deregister a registered political party? Number one, if it was registered fraudulently. Yeah? Because political parties have been there ever since. Not all parties are new under the law. Parties have been there even during the time when the registration was being done by the Registrar of Societies, before the onset, before the Political Parties Act came into force. Yeah? The first one in 2007, because this is now the second one, the one of 2011. So even before then, political parties have been there ever since 1960s. Yeah? A party like KANU has been there, yeah, for a long time. So if the registrar then establishes that a party that has been there was registered fraudulently, then she can deregister, or he can, I'm assuming the registrar is, but it can be a man, can deregister the party. If that party now, if the party contravenes the Constitution or the Political Parties Act provisions, if that party now becomes a militia or promotes activities of terror or militia groups, if that party fails to meet certain requirements of compliance, because we have compliance activities within the Political Parties Act, which guide management of political parties, leadership and governance of political parties. Is, for example, nomination. They bungle nominations, and then there's a complaint and they're not able to remedy that. Yeah? So that can make the registrar initiate a deregistration process. Now, a deregistration process is, as I said, is a process. You know, the registrar does not just wake up and say, this party is deregistered. A party will be notified that there is this contravention, please rectify. Yeah? They'll be told even the consequences. If they don't make good, then there will be a warning. So the notice is 3 months, the warning is 3 months, yeah, and to remedy, and then there's a final warning of deregistration, which is 12 months. If the party does not do anything, they just go mute, yeah, then the registrar will have no option but to deregister the party, because it could also imply that there is no leadership. The International Day of Democracy is a day that is commemorated, celebrated globally in recognition of democracy globally, but mainly the purpose is to promote and to uphold principles and ideals of democracy, and to ensure that there is awareness, sensitization, and that citizens of democratic states then are able to safeguard, you know, the democracy, because it is through democracy that citizens are able to enjoy their rights and freedoms, you know, because a democracy is whereby governance is by the people, yeah? So it's important, because it's like a reminder, you know, that we have rights and freedoms, and that democracies must be built, strengthened, must be enhanced, and therefore it gives an opportunity for countries to take stock of the progress they have made, be able to focus, in advanced democracy, and in pointing out areas for improvement, because it's like it gives us a platform and an opportunity to have a conversation with ourselves, because the way we'll have a conversation in one country will be different from another, because democracy is practiced differently, even though democracy is democracy, but there are different types of democracies, and the principles of democracy that are applied in one country may not be the same in another. So each state, each country then takes stock of its own situation. Are we in the right direction? Is there something that we need to do? So, and even to appreciate the progress that we are making, because it's not a must that every time we are looking at gaps, we are looking at ills, we are looking at what is not working. It's good even to look back and appreciate the gains and the progress we have made. As a country, there are a lot of gains that we have made. There's a lot of progress that we have made. There are a lot of milestones that we have achieved that we need to appreciate and motivate ourselves even to continue progressing, because there is much more that as a country we need to do even as we pursue democracy. The nation, the description of the mandate of this office that I've already given earlier, you can tell, because, democracy is about rule by the people, and in this office, in this country, the power is given to the people. And now, when you talk about democracy, it's about the people being able to make their own decisions. Because when you talk about enjoyment of rights and freedoms, basically it's about making decisions. And here we are speaking about governance and political decisions, because political decisions and processes are really what now gives us leadership. Because in this country, we have a system of government that is representative. We have a representative democracy, as a country, but also we have a direct democracy. Now, I want to speak about the representative democracy, whereby the Kenyans who have the power actually elect leaders that now make decisions on their behalf, including making laws, and a lot of decisions that determine the welfare and the well-being of the people, even to be able to enjoy those rights and freedoms that have been enshrined in the statutes. And when you talk about representative democracy, definitely we are talking about political parties, and the political processes and election processes, and of course values and principles that support all that. But just speaking about ORPP, talking about political parties, who is the regulator of political parties in Kenya? It is the registrar. And in the terms of regulation, we're talking about who even approves the registration of a political party. It is the registrar. And these are the vehicles through which Kenyans exercise their political rights and therefore democracy. So it's very critical, because these are institutions that need to be safeguarded. They're one of the avenues through which then Kenyans exercise their rights, their political rights. And Article 38 of the Constitution, which talks about political rights, it is through this process that Kenyans are able to elect their leaders who are nominated by political parties to participate in elections. It is in these political parties whereby, critically, we have even the marginalized participating in terms of even making decisions, because political parties inform public policy, they shape public policy. They converge and consolidate opinions of the people through their political groupings. And speaking about the special interest groups, which are basically the women, the youth, persons with disability, the marginalized, and the minorities. We have ensured, as a duty bearer, to enhance and promote democracy in this country, that in every political party, where key decisions of a nomination to elections are done, that there is a space for the special interest groups the women who really don't have the muscles. Yeah? So we've provided in law that for them to be able to have a voice and enjoy their democratic rights, yeah, we have made sure that in every governing body of a political party, and it is given in law, we have been able to get the goodwill of Parliament to have all that enshrined in the Act, that we have the women in the governing body, that every governing body of a party must have women, yeah, at least the 1/3 gender role, the 2/3 gender role, that one we don't compromise. We have representatives of the youth, representative of the person with disability, and not somebody coming to say this person has disability because, part of the intestine inside was cut, which you cannot see, So we make sure that the persons with disability are actually registered with the Council of Persons with Disability, so that these minorities are also able to enjoy their democratic rights and can participate in the governance of this country. We all know that it's a multi-party democratic state. So we believe we have a very important role. When it comes to parties nominating candidates, even for elections, we have rules, yeah, that they use. Some of the rules that they use that we're able to govern, even together with IBC, to regulate rather, together with IBC, is that we make sure that among the list of their nominated candidates, not the party list, then they have the marginalized there. Because you cannot have democracy when part of the population, their voice is overshadowed, their voice is curtailed, then that's not democracy. That can only be democracy for the few. It's called the elite democracy. Yeah? So that is not our democracy envisaged as a country. So to make sure that the democracy for everybody, including especially the special interest groups, the person's disability. When the party lists are being done by political parties, they have to pass through here. So we may not be able to say it is not up to us, but we advise, yeah, because we confirm that these are the members, so that there's even democracy within parties. So that you don't bring a member of another party in your party list, or you nominate another member of a political party when you have your own members who have built the party. So that democracy starts with the political parties. We make sure that their constitutions, because every party has a constitution, their constitution actually promotes democracy from within. When there are NDCs to be held, those NDCs are actually held, and they file returns with us to show that those meetings were actually held, and that they invited not just men only, not just a certain group for a certain region, but there is inclusion for everybody. So we do a lot of sensitization, and we do a lot of targeted sensitization, because we cannot have participation by all if a certain group or certain demographics are not even aware of their rights, including their political rights, including the rights to participate in the activities and programs of a party from where we stand, because they're not aware. So we sensitize these groups, women, we sensitize persons with disability, we sensitize the youth, and we actually hold different forums for these groups, so that our message and our approach is responsive and is addressing that particular target group. Because you cannot put, like, for example, the women and the youth, even the language is different. Right. Okay, so we do the targeted sensitization, including having materials that speak to them, including identifying trainers, so to say, that speaks to them, and we do this more often within, of course, what we have, the resources that we have, but we've done quite a lot. The last training we did sensitization, we did it in June this year. Next month, next week actually, we'll do another one again for the various groups, but also for the political parties. We train them to ensure that there's good governance and there is democracy, because when there's democracy in one institution and another, then we achieve democracy across the country, because democracy cannot be at just one level. It has to be everywhere. And there's no democracy if we are only dictating it at one point. But those who are supposed to hold the leaders accountable for democracy, then they are not aware, or they don't have the power and the muscles to do that. We are able to do that outreach because we have over 24 million Kenyans who belong to political parties. So we believe that any message that we send to political parties, all of them, the 90 registered parties, is able to reach the 24 million plus Kenyans who are members of political parties. And as we build then their capacity, as we empower them, then we are empowering the nation so that we can be a true democratic state. Okay, I just wanted to say one more thing, because this year's theme of the International Day of Democracy is empowering the next generation. And the next generation here, we are looking at the young people. And our main areas, we've broken down that to our own local main areas of focus, even as we commemorate that day, is on mindset shift for the young people, as well as the power of the digital space, because we know our young people are just, deep inside technology, but also the mindset shift. That, in as much as there's so many provisions that I've explained here in various laws and even within institutions, so that we make sure that there is inclusion and that the young people are given a chance to participate, because young people are the majority in this country. And we are so happy that even the global theme for this year actually speaks to the young people, the next generation, that the young people need to rise to the occasion. Okay? The provisions are there. But when they get the space, you are in the governing body whereby party, for example, decisions are being made. Are they just there to complete numbers? Are they just there for this party to come to this office and say, we have 3 young people in our governing body? Yet, when the agenda is being transacted, you don't quite see the agendas of the youth coming out strong, and the youth are there. And that's why we are saying the youth need to know that they've been empowered, okay? And this is their time. Yeah, that it is one thing to have the provisions, but unless they wake up and seize the opportunity and seize that provision, the provisions that are given, because we're talking about affirmative actions. That's what these laws are talking about by giving the provisions. But affirmative action alone by provisions will not change the narrative until somebody seizes that opportunity. And that's why we are focusing on the young people, asking the young people, let's have a mindset shift. This provision will be there, but leadership will not be given to you. When you go to that discussion table, the decision-making table, and you're being told that, this person is 40, but 40 is not very far from 30. He can represent the youth. And you are there, you are 30. Yeah? Do not give up your birthright. Just speak and say this slot is for the young people, and we will not allow it to go to anybody else. Let the young people go to those tables with an